Oh my. That's like, I think there's only one or two peppers in the world that's hotter than that. Like the ghost peppers, I think, are hotter. That's pretty hot. Andre, I couldn't do it. Good for you. Did you break out in a sweat? Yes. Yes. Like Darth Vader. I get it. I get it. So while we wait for everyone else, you guys, how you doing today, Kinsey? Did you have a good lunch? So while we wait for everybody to join us, just kind of think about my what I have up here in my background, you guys. I'm pretty sure you can identify which celebration it is, but then the rest of it is about the decorations. So what do we know about these decorations that you see behind me here? Yeah. So skulls, right? Do we know what they're symbolic of? Any ideas, Kinsey?
Can you see this?
Yeah.
They
Say
made this like last year, I think.
that's cool. For the holiday?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's cool. What about these purple and green and orange things behind me? And these skeletons here? It looks like they're it's like somebody's playing some music. Hi, Serenity. Buenos dias, Ayana. So, you guys, while we wait for everyone, check out my background. What can you tell me about these decorations? Obviously, we know it's for Dia de los Muertos, right? Or Day of the Dead, but what is the purpose of these things? And do we know what they call them? And what is the purpose of like skeletons? These guys are playing music. Yes, Serenity, absolutely it does. Good thinking. Good thinking. Reminds us of Coco. I wish we could watch that movie from start to finish. Yeah, you're close. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. Ah, DeAndre, that's right. That's a good song, right? You make me un poco loco, right? A little crazy, cray cray, right? Un poco loco. Yeah. One more minute, you guys. We'll start. Let's see who else is going to join us today. Ayana, what's up with you? Did you have a good lunch? Yeah, good. Muy bien. So DeAndre was saying that, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. So DeAndre was saying that he had some spicy food for lunch with habaneros. Habaneros. Woo, I'm sweating just thinking about it, right? Absolutely. Yeah, we'll talk about that here. And we got one more minute officially until class has to start. So there it is. Okay. Buenos dias, clase, a todos. How are we? Um, so a couple of things before we get started today. I hope you all had a good lunch, first of all, but I want to share something with you real quickly. So this morning when I woke up, and y'all have heard me say that we have some kind of odd weather patterns here lately. It's like this morning, I mean, it's the end of October, and this morning when I woke up, my phone said it was in the morning. They said it was 77 degrees. Okay. In the morning. Well, y'all, I know y'all live in Georgia, but around here, we're supposed to be having like 40 and 50 degree mornings, not almost 80 degree mornings, right? So things are a little messed up. Anyway, long story short, I want to share this with you simply as a reminder about what happens. I agree about what happens, for example, if there's bad weather and either you guys can't connect with me or I can't connect with you or whatever the situation may be. So this is just an opportunity for a reminder. So this morning when I got up, we did have some kind of lightning and thunder and rain and stuff. And so I put in an announcement in Canvas. So we don't need it. Notice what I said here. Please work on the following only if we cannot connect. So basically y'all can ignore this for today because we're obviously connected. But in future, so that you know, you guys, if there's a connection issue, right? Run over here to announcements and I will try to leave you something. Okay, does that make sense? Yep. So I wanted to share that with you. You can ignore that for today, but I just wanted to share it with you while we have that opportunity as kind of a reminder. Okay, you guys. So what are we doing today? We are, Serenity got kicked out. Speaking of getting kicked out, how are you today? Ying? See? Okay. So behind me, you guys, there's a couple of things going on here. We recognize that this all has to do with the Day of the Dead, right? Dia de los Muertos. But what are they? Number one, what could they symbolize? Okay. And so does anybody know what these like decorations, these purple and green and orange things are called? Does anybody know what they are? And I'm sure if you've seen them at the store, maybe you've gone to a party, maybe you've seen them in pictures. Anybody know what these purple and green and orange things are behind me in my background? They're called papeles, paper, right? Papeles picados. And picado just means like they have holes made in them. Okay. It's an interesting process. And I'm hoping that we have time today or tomorrow to just watch a short video on how they do these papeles picados. And you guys have probably seen them. Yeah, Serenity, you made them last year probably, right? And you guys may have seen them in like plastic, because they sell them here for decoration, right? For like birthday party decoration or whatever. They have become, you guys, no, just ignore that, Kenzie. Just ignore all of that. Okay, no worries. They have become part of what we see when we go to the store, right? Go to the grocery store. You might even see it like on a poster or something when they're selling like decorating for cakes or something, like they're everywhere. Okay. If you go to a Latin grocery store, they sell them all the time because they use them for birthdays and they use them for, 4th of July. Anytime there's a celebration, they use papeles picados in Mexico, right? These are strictly a Mexican thing. Okay. The other thing that we can see behind me, you guys, some of you mentioned, were these skulls, traditionally made out of sugar and painted. Okay. And then, but not always made out of sugar. And you can see that they've kind of used skeletons and stuff like that. So, what is the point of that? Well, here's something that we have to remember, and it's something that we're going to kind of talk about, is just because we in the United States, for example, have connection with like skulls and skeletons and things for like Halloween as scary items or creepy items, okay? In other cultures, death, basically, you guys, is viewed differently, right? So things like skeletons and skulls are not going to have the same perspective or connotation, you know, as we have on them. And that is one of the reasons why I love teaching cultural lessons or historical lessons, because, you know, you guys may or may not remember, but I also taught social studies for 24 years. I love talking about how all of these things sort of connect: history, today, the why, right? I love that. So what I'm hoping to do is share that with you today and tomorrow. Okay. And so, yeah, so that's all of that. Okay. Now, why are they made out of sugar? Well, because they picked up a tradition from Spain. Okay. And we're going to talk about something called cultural blending. Okay. And here in just a minute. All right. We still have some folks joining us. All right. So any questions on my background? Any questions about maybe what I just said? Oh, did I lose you? I did. Okay. All right, you guys. So take a look at my new background here. Good, Hill. Hoy es miércoles, el 30 de octubre, y vamos a aprender de la celebración del Día de los Muertos. So it's a celebration. All of these things are meant to be joyous. Okay. Las flores se llaman cempasúchil. So these flowers that you see behind me are called cempasúchil. They are, we call them in English, a kind of marigold flower, okay? Y son las flores del Día de los Muertos. So they are like the traditional flower of the celebration of Día de los Muertos. But I want to ask you a question. Does this cempasúchil sound like a Spanish word? What do you think? Does it sound like a Spanish word? Yes or no? What y'all think? You guys, I can't have a conversation with myself. Is cempasúchil yeah, I remember IDK, I don't know, is a legit answer instead of like me sitting here waiting for an answer, right? If you don't know, I don't know, IDK, I don't know, right? That's a good answer. That's legit answer, okay? So listen carefully. Cempasúchil is an indigenous word, okay? It's an indigenous, again, what is indigenous? We're talking about Native American populations living in Mexico, right? Because they were there first. And cempasúchil, okay, is the Native American word for that flower, right? That has been adopted into mainstream Mexican use of language, right? So they're not using the Spanish word, they're using that word, that indigenous word, cempasúchil. So I mention it, you guys, because what I want to talk about, okay, is not just, oh, here's Dia de los Muertos, and we all know that, and we've done crafty things in classes before, and, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we've seen Coco, you know, all of those things, right? But to talk about like the blending of culture, you guys, that's the main focus. And then our other focus is going to be, what is Halloween? Tomorrow's Halloween, right? What is Halloween? And is it the same thing? And if it's not, then how is it different? Why are they at the same time, roughly? Okay. Is there a connection? I don't know. Okay. All right, any questions or anything, comments about what I just said? Ready to get started then? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to get started. See, muy bien. Okay. So the first thing that I want to kind of throw out there, you guys, is last class on Monday, we officially, we finished Unit 5 on all those reflexive verbs. We practiced with sentirse and all of that. And there was one VHL assignment that I let you guys work on in class because it was difficult and I wanted to make sure I could help you through it. If you were unable to finish that, I'm just reminding you to try to go back in and finish it and then reach out to me if you still need help. So let's kind of get organized for our Dia de los Muertos, okay? So give me 1 second here. Excuse me. And like I said, we are going to have a conversation, right, you guys? This is what it's about. Have a conversation, ask questions. Why, okay? So what I need everybody to do first is I need you to go to Canvas, refresh your screen, and scroll until you find the Dia de los Muertos module, please. I'm gonna turn off my screen just a second so I can clear my throat. Give me a minute, guys. Okay, all right. So you should be in Canvas and scroll until you see the Dia de los Muertos module. Hill, you with us? When you get there, you guys, you should see something called a Cornell Note. Have you guys ever used Cornell Notes before? Do you remember that word at all? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Ayana tells me no. Heck no. She says, heck no. Yeah, heck no. All right. Thank you, Serenity. Y'all were telling me, heck no. Okay. So when you click on it, I apologize for my voice, you guys. I don't know what's going on. Let me view as student. All righty, so it should look like this. Notice we have a cempasúchil in the corner. Notice we have some papeles picados, right, along the top. You have two options on this one, you guys. You can download here. You can use your Kami option, or you can just type here. The problem, of course, with typing here, you know, you guys, is that you'll have to keep coming back to this, which I guess is okay. Okay. All right. So let me see in let me see in GoGuardian. Are you guys good to go there? Okay. Hill, does it open in Kami? Is it going to open? I'm just curious. DeAndre, you got to scroll to the Dia de los Muertos module. So, Dantravis, is that in Kami? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so if you guys rather use Kami, that's good too. Because we're gonna have to go back and forth, right? We're gonna have to access it more than once. So whatever works for you, just get yourself organized. We have a shorter class today, so you guys, if I forget that fact, just don't forget to remind me, because you know me, I should pay more attention to the clock. You don't. Alrighty, so I see that you all are there roughly. Some of you are still in Cami. Just kind of let me know when you're ready. Send me an emoji. Send me an emoji. Yeah. Okay. Hill, you ready? Rock and rolling? You're in Cami and you're good to go, right? Okay. All right. Now listen, this is all in. Okay. We have to be all in here. We have to be willing to chat and talk and throw ideas at one another. Okay. Okay. So let's take a look at these, how these Cornell notes work. Okay, so you probably already figured out they're a little different than just any other kind of guided note or something like that. They're not a fill in the blank or anything of that nature. So along the top here, you guys, we have a question, a topic. In other words, when we're done with all of this, what is the question or questions that we need to have answers for? Okay. And so whatever the questions that we put in here or topic that we put up in here up at the top, all of our notes should answer that question. In other words, it's going to help us instead of thinking that we have to respond or type everything somebody says, right? It's going to help us sort of filter, right? It's going to make us think about, well, is what she said and what I just saw, is that going to help me answer the question? Okay. And then so you would type those things, obviously we're in the notes part, and then questions or ideas. And this is yours. This is kind of like your scrap paper, this column for questions and ideas. And so you can put in there, well, how come, this is like that, or what does it mean for this, that, or that, like whatever pops into your head, right? And so it doesn't have to be like in a proper, none of this has to be in like a proper sentence, right? These are notes, these are yours. So questions and ideas are like scrap paper, right? Something that pops into your head, put it in there. Okay. So we have to start up here at the top, you guys. What is our topic, or what is our essential question? What is the thing that we need to answer? Okay. So we have two, right? We have two. One question is going to be, what is cultural blending? Okay, and let me know if you cannot see my screen. Examples. Okay, again, let me know if you cannot see my screen. If I need to make this larger, you guys let me know. I can try to zoom. Yeah, maybe not. How's that? Is that better? Yes? Guys, talk to me. Is that better? Too big, too small? Okay. Because I don't know if it like then blocks what you see. Okay. Right. Our other question, you guys, is going to be in what ways or how is Halloween different from Dios? Well, let me move this. I wonder if it's going to let me move it. Moving? May not let me move it since I'm sharing screen. Anyway, how is it different from, let's try, Halloween? Okay. Halloween. Question mark. Yes. So up at the top, you guys put in what I put in, right? This is our goal. Oh yeah, I can move. Okay. So our two questions, in what ways is, you guys, Halloween different from Halloween? In what ways is Halloween different from Dia de los Muertos? And I'm just going to abbreviate. And then what are some examples of cultural blending, right? So this is the two things that we want to try to understand using Dia de los Muertos as kind of our example, okay? So go ahead and type that in. So my question to you guys, is what is cultural blending? You have ideas? What is cultural blending? What is that? What do you think I mean by cultural blending? Or can you come up with an example? What do you think? Let me know if I need to pull that back up there, okay? Okay. Okay, good. I like your answers, you guys. Okay, so we have, it's when different cultures come together and mix, creating new ideas, traditions, or practices. That's perfect. I think you mean like, how do cultures celebrate things and how people in the US celebrate. Yeah. So let's think about it, you guys. And you can add this to your notes, okay? Because these are ideas, right? That are going to help us answer the question, what is cultural blending? Because that's part of our job, right? That's part of our goal. That's why we wrote it in our notes. Okay. So one example that you guys are telling me is what we're talking about. Immediately, when I put up that background, you guys, with the skulls, did you not, you recognized, you already figured out, oh, it's going to be something about Dia de los Muertos. Isn't that right, you guys? Yes or no? That is an example of cultural blending. How do you know that? How do you know that? If you are not Mexican, because it is a purely Mexican kind of celebration that way, okay, which we'll talk about later. How do you know that if you're not of Mexican heritage? How do we know that, you guys? You can unmute. You don't have to just put it in the chat. How do we know these things? What teaches us about, for example, Dia de los Muertos? What teaches us? Do we learn it in school? Go ahead.
Yeah. A way we can understand or how we can know it is through either teachers or just people who celebrate it or are of the not heritage.
Yeah. So you see
Yeah.
it in your community is what you're trying to tell me, right, Hill? In different ways in your community. Is that what you're telling me? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Right? Somebody else says that you see it all around, like social media, right? Or through your friends. Okay. So in your notes, what is cultural blending, right? All you got to do, jot down some ideas under the notes column. We learn about different cultural things from school, from social media, from friends, from our community, right? Yeah. Can we think of other ways that about cultural blending? Maybe think about food. Maybe think about, doesn't just have to be about Dia de los Muertos, right? Cultural blending in general. What about food? What about music? What do you think, you guys? Right? How do we blend cultures? So listen, I can give you an example of me. Okay. And you know, I'm not expecting a specific answer from you guys. What I am expecting is sharing of ideas. Okay. Let me make that clear, right? There's not a right or a wrong answer necessarily. I'm expecting from you a sharing of ideas. Okay. And right now we're talking about cultural blending. But let me give you an example of like me. So when I was growing up, nobody in my house spoke English, right? And when I went to school as a kindergartner, I remember specifically, I remember like it was yesterday. And kindergarten for me was a long time ago. Okay. But I remember specifically sitting in a circle. They put us in, you know, that was put kids in a circle, which is an interesting thing, by the way, right? Because that's what Native Americans believed, that they call it a kiva. We sit in circles to make us all equal. Does that blow your mind? Why we put little kids in circles? Okay. Yes. Okay. Anyway, I digress. Okay. This is how my brain works, you guys. I have so much stuff in there, right? But anyway, so when I was a kid, right, and they would put us in circles, and I couldn't understand how come, like the kid sitting next to me, good, DeAndre, perfect. Make sure you put that in your notes. Why the kid sitting next to me didn't speak the way I spoke. How come that kid sitting next to me didn't speak the way I spoke? Right? And so I had to learn to blend, my culture at home with the greater culture. Right? Okay. So have I done that? Absolutely. Let me give you an example. You can add it to your notes. Okay. You guys, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a purely American holiday. It's supposed to be about the pilgrims coming to America and do, right? That's a purely American holiday. You don't go to Canada or Mexico or Spain or England or someplace and have Thanksgiving the way Americans traditionally celebrate Thanksgiving, right? So cultural blending is, for example, as like many others, have adopted, because I live in the United States, have adopted that celebration of Thanksgiving. But it's not part of my culture necessarily, right? So things like, so examples of cultural blending that you should be adding to your notes, right, you guys, would be like celebrations, like Thanksgiving, like Dia de los Muertos, right? Things about food. Food is a huge thing about cultural blending. Think about the United States and all the different foods we have, right? That's not how it is in most other parts of the country, of the world, I mean. You know, they have their food, right? So questions and ideas again, Hill, are whatever pop into your head that you would want to ask, or connections that you're making, okay? The notes is anything that we talk about that are going to help you answer the question, what is cultural blending, and provide examples. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a minute. Think about what we just talked about. Think about music. Think about food. Think about celebrations. Think about specifically, for example, Dia de los Muertos or something like that, and just jot down your ideas in the notes. What did we just talk about that might help you answer what is cultural blending? Okay, again, there's no right or wrong answer. These are your notes. So take a minute and fill them in. Fill in some ideas. So cultural blending, right, you guys, when different cultures come together and it just becomes accepted as part of culture, like Dia de los Muertos, right? Or Thanksgiving, or I don't know, whatever, okay? I mean, it hasn't always been where, like now, you guys, I can go over here to this store and buy like a cupcake kit or a cake mix decorating thing to make a cake for Dia de los Muertos. That wasn't always like that. Okay. That hasn't been until maybe the last 10 or 15 years or something like that at the most, right? Okay. All right. So jot your ideas down for what is cultural blending in your notes. Okay. All right. So let's continue a little bit, you guys, with this idea of examples of cultural blending. Okay. And I kind of need to know what you know. Okay. I need to know what you know. So I'm going to ask you some questions real quick. Can you tell me why? Okay. And you can unmute or you can put it in the chat. Can you tell me why Mexico, Central America, and South America speak Spanish? You can unmute, or like I say, the chat is a good place to just, throw ideas out there, right or wrong, good or bad. Why? Do we know why Mexico and Central America and South America speak Spanish? Did they always speak Spanish? All of this has to do with Dia de los Muertos, right? This is the journey that we're on. So remember, if you don't know, IDK in the chat. Diantre? Okay. Anybody else? Why do they speak Spanish? If Spain is a country in Europe, and by the way, is the only country in Europe that speaks Spanish, how in the heck, good Liliana, how in the heck did the half of the Americas end up speaking Spanish? Good, Ayana. Okay, so let's talk about that before our time runs out today. Okay, all right, good answer, Serenity. Very good. Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's where we're headed, right? So when you guys say Spanish colonization, colonies, right? They were Spanish colonies. So if you think about Christopher Columbus, let's just go with that story for just a second, right? He sailed for Spain and he was trying to find a shortcut to Asia for spices. Okay. Instead, he hit some islands off the coast of the Americas. And then the rest is history, as we say, in the sense that he went back to Spain and said, hey, I found this. And then other people started coming, other Spanish explorers started coming, right? And then for centuries. Okay. Now, do we know who lived here when they got here? Who was here when they landed? Like when Christopher Columbus arrived, or the first other Spanish explorers, they're called conquistadores, right? By the way, conquistadors, right? Conquerors. Who was here when they got here? Was there anybody living here in the Americas? Okay, good answer, Hill. Anyone else? Who was living here? Good, DeAndre. Yes, indigenous populations, right? The native peoples were living here. So let's make a connection, because this is something I think that we don't always do in class or in school. Can you name an American, a tribe of an Indian tribe that you know? Can you name an Indian tribe? That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, what are they? Can you think of one? Come on, I'm sure you've all heard this. What's a Native American tribe? Okay, yes, Hill, that's one. Have you ever heard of a Cherokee? Yes or no? Yes. Navajo, Cherokee, yes. Creek, Mo, what's the one that starts with an O? I can't think of. I can think of it right now. At any rate, yes, you're right. Navajo, Cherokee, those kinds of things, right? And Creek and Sioux, right? There's the Sioux Indians, okay? And tons of them. Tons of them. So how come we can name them, right? Well, listen, those peoples were all indigenous to the Americas, right? They're native populations to the Americas, and they weren't just in what is the United States. That's who was living in all of the Americas, Central America, South America, indigenous native peoples, different tribes, different names, different groups of people, but Native Americans nonetheless inhabited all of the Americas. Okay. So they would not have spoken Spanish exactly, right? Because they were speaking their own indigenous language. Like we said, Kempasuchiel up here is a native word. Okay. So my point, one of the last things I want you to add to your notes for today, cultural blending, language. Okay. The only reason the Americas speak Spanish is because of the Spanish colonizers, is because of those men who came from Spain in the 1500s, right? And they brought with them their language and different cultural things, okay? Now, so add that to your list, language. And that is the only reason why it is spoken in the Americas, okay? All right, any questions about that? Can we think of something before the bell, real quick? Can we think of something else that the Spanish may have brought to the Americas? Besides the language, can you think of something else that they may have brought? Okay. So someone said food, and food is actually, in this instance, one of the things that they did not bring. If we go to Spain, you're never going to find a taco or a burrito or anything like that. You ain't going to find one. Okay. What else could they bring? Clothing styles, right? Okay. Yes. Music, horses, clothing style. So please be adding these to your notes, right? Because we're going to come back to them. Yes, different sort of agricultural sort of techniques, I guess. Okay. Anything else? Okay, one last thing before we close. You guys, belief system, a belief system, a religion. Okay, and that all is going to directly, Glasse, play in, yes, and art, absolutely. That belief system that the Spanish brought to the Americas is why we have Dia de los Muertos. And that, you guys, is what we're going to look into tomorrow. So please make sure that's in your notes. Okay. All right. Any questions? You guys, I think that's our time today, right? Class went by fast. Make sure that you save those Cornell notes some way, somehow, so that you can access them again, right? Okay. All right. Any questions, you guys? All right. Tomorrow we're going to watch a little Coco, just a little bit. Okay. All right, you guys. Adios. Don't forget, don't lose those. Okay. That's loco con coco. All right, you guys. Adios. Have a great day. Adios.